unfortunately, the weather and everything kind of messed it up, so we've only got about half of everybody we really wanted to be here. But what we're going to do is walk through the battlefield. For your military, you can probably multiply by about 4 to 1, and you would have the 80 soldiers, roughly. The Native Americans, you could multiply by 100 to 200 to 1. Okay, so there were a lot of natives. There were roughly 1,500 natives here. And the battle starts roughly at noon, right around now, on December 21st, 1866. It started with an effort by the military to go, the last time they were going to leave the fort that winter to gather wood. They were leaving from Fort Phil Kearny and going up to Story. And almost invariably when a wood train was going out, it would be ambushed on the next ridge over on what's called Sullivan Hill. Now, as far as we know, Fetterman and his command, he had 2 other officers, Drummond and Brown. There were approximately originally 10 decoys, 1 from each band of the Native Americans that were here. So you had 2 Minneconjou, 2 Cheyenne, 2 Ogallala, 2 Arapaho, and then 2 that were just from the other mixed tribes. Fetterman and Drummond were under orders not to cross Lodge Trail Ridge, and that's where a lot of the debate starts. One of the theories suggests that they came over the ridge but paused, and then Drummond took off with the mounted troops and got halfway down to here on the ridge, and Fetterman, being in overall command, had to commit the infantry to his support. So it was really Drummond's massacre and not Fetterman's as far as who really disobeyed the orders. But they did cross the ridge, all of them did. What the Indians, their overall description is that the military came over the ridge, they separated out with the cavalry in advance and the infantry behind. They get down in and the battle starts, they come back together, and then they separate again. On the west side, nearest to the north end, were the Arapaho, and then the Cheyenne behind them. Probably maybe 100 Arapaho, a couple, 300 Cheyenne. The Ogallala were on the north end, probably 300, 400, 500. Nobody really knows the exact numbers. The biggest contingent was the Minneconjou. They're the last ones to engage, and they were also the largest group. There were about 800 over there. And they came through these draws and up in here, and they get into the draw right below the monument. And so they closed the door for the military. Nobody could escape at that point. There were 2 civilians along, Wheatley and Fisher. They joined up with the command, and they stayed with the cavalry until the retreat starts. So they break off first, and they take a position about 200 yards north of the knob, north of the tree right here. You'll see a flag, a white flag fluttering with a red dot. That's where their position was historically. Carrington on the following day finds 60 blood spots around their position. So, and their bodies had 100 arrows in each of them, or at least 100 arrows, I should say. As the infantry retreated, the cavalry, the way it started is the cavalry let go of their horses. That practically stopped the battle as the warriors all of them went after these great cavalry horses. We know that Drummond retreated out of the cavalry along with at least a couple of enlisted men. They got up on this hill where we're standing right now. We've got the artifact evidence that puts Drummond here and at least 2 soldiers. Drummond is killed right here. You're being surrounded now. In this spot, this is where Fetterman is killed. Fetterman's command got down to the monument, and that's where they are wiped out. The Minneconjou rode all their horses down into where you can see the tree sticking up down here below the monument. They dismounted their horses down there and came up and hid in the brush, and the soldiers came up this steep little hill right before the monument, had no idea those warriors were there. Part of the problem the military had out here was they're right out of the Civil War. 80% of their soldiers were green recruits. Very few of them had ever fired their rifles. None of them knew military tactics. Had they known the military tactics real well, they could have fought their way out of this battle, even against those odds. They could have caused enough casualties, they probably could have got out of here.